People feel you before they understand you. You have to be able to have a system that you can run the room, otherwise the room will run you. Presence with intention creates energy, and energy with alignment creates leadership. It wasn't ever about learning to perform, it's about learning to lead, and that is the system that gets created. That's the framework that can apply to anything. When we're not present in a moment, we're no longer connecting with the people that are there in front of us. It's about making it about them. It's about serving the room. That's how you gain attention.
This is the Relentless Pursuit of Winning podcast, where we are here to educate, equip, and inspire people to build extraordinary companies. We're so glad you're here. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell so you can get updates every time we drop a new episode. Now let's get it started. Hey folks, welcome to another episode of the Relentless Pursuit of Winning podcast. My name is Rick Meekins. I'm your host today, and in our studio we have Aaron Smalls. How are you today, sir?
Rick, thanks for having me on the show, and thank you to everyone that is watching. I'm so excited to be here with you. It's been a long time coming, and now here we are.
Definitely. This is going to be an amazing show. Folks, if you haven't done already, would you please like, subscribe, and hit the bell so you can get updates every time we drop a new episode? And without further ado, let's get to it. So Aaron, we're all sitting on the edge of our seats. Let us know who you are, what you do, and why you do what you do.
The loaded question.
Yes, sir.
Okay, let's dive right into it. I'm Aaron Smalls. I call myself an energy architect. We'll go through more of what that is, but I've spent 20 years hosting and DJing for TV shows and live events for crowds from anywhere from 50 to 50,000 people. Recently, I just did the FIFA World Cup in Boston. I did 4 games there, one of which was a quarterfinal. So that was pretty amazing. And not too long before that, I worked on the Emmy-winning Clarkson show right through the final season as the audience warm-up host. And then if we go back in time of who I am, some might say I'm a little bit of a gambler because I made a bet back in the day. I went to the University of Central Florida. I was studying mechanical engineering, and the entertainment world came into my view, and I knew nothing about the entertainment world really, and it hooked me, it captured me, and that changed my entire trajectory, changed my entire course. So I switched from engineering to business and graduated with business and continued to pursue the entertainment world. And as a kid, I grew up in St. Thomas in the Virgin Islands. My grandfather was a calypso musician. If you don't know what calypso is, definitely look it up. It's got some roots in a lot of different music. But yeah, everybody thought I was kind of crazy to make that move, to make that jump from engineering to business to then pursuing entertainment. And, I think that's one of those feelings that founders can relate to, is that everybody thinking that you're crazy for pursuing an idea. And what I do now is essentially 2 things. I do 2 things at once. I am still performing at the highest possible level with the different shows and events that I'm doing. And I've also created a system behind it. And I teach that system. And most people only do one of those things in this space. And that's where I do both. And I do both because the why of it is I learned the hard way that a room is a business asset. And nobody really teaches you how to run a room. So I built a system that does do that. And the rule is simple. It's one rule that's at the top of the list. It's very simple. And that rule is, it ain't about you. So that, for the most part, is the who and what and why of who I am.
Amazing. You dropped a couple pearls in there. Let's start with the energy architect. What is that, man?
Energy architect, for the longest time, I had this tripod of hosting, DJing, and acting. And I was doing that for a long time, and I was finding great success in all of them, not just domestically, internationally. I was booking TV shows and commercials and movies. I was DJing on massive stages and events and hosting for Nickelodeon and in a lot of other TV shows. And right around the pandemic, I thought to myself, what's the through line here? What am I doing in each one of these that I could hone in on exactly what it is that I do? And when I did that, I found that it was energy. And energy is, maybe this is the engineer in me, but the energy aspect of it is, energy is neither created nor destroyed. It's just transferred. And that's exactly what I found myself doing. I was transferring this energy back and forth between people. And I was like, that's it. That's the through line. That's the thread. I am architecting an experience that has to do with energy. Before you walk into any room, before you say anything, the energy that surrounds you is going to speak for you.
Mm-hmm.
It is such a big thing where energy just, how do I really lock into it? I think the way that I really lock into it is that before you say anything, energy is really surrounding you, and it is what you bring into that room before you say anything that people will initially lock onto. And all these different public speaking and communication programs, they're going to teach you what to say and how to say it and body language and all of those.
Yeah.
But the aspect that I found that was missing is the energetic aspect of it. What are those things doing? If I sit here and I talk to you and I'm like this, they'll tell you, don't cross your arms because you're closing yourself off to the person. It can feel standoffish. That's the body language of it. But energetically, what is that doing? It's shutting off our connection. It's closing off that openness between the two of us. So that's one of the things that I found is that if I can teach the aspects of energy that I have learned in all of these different rooms, all of these different stages, and I can attach it to not just the entertainment world, but also to the leadership world, research and development, business, leaders, founders, executives. If I can help them to understand the energetic side of it before you say anything, before you do anything, body language related, that is the absolute trigger that will bring people together and take different personalities, different diversity, and bring it together into alignment, into one collective that's moving forward.
So this is perfect. I mean, we're in this place, we're exchanging energy, we're giving energy to the audience. So in terms of architecting, what this should look like, or I imagine, we're trying to optimize this so that the flow is, it's working between all three audiences, so to speak, be you and the listener viewers. What would that process look like?
So the process is, it goes back to what I was saying. People feel you before they understand you. So you have to be able to have a system that you can run the room. Otherwise, the room will run you. You've heard it in branding and all these different aspects is if you don't tell your story, people will tell it for you. They'll make up whatever they want to make up. And it's the same thing when you walk into a room. And here's the whole thing, essentially in two lines, right? Presence with intention creates energy. And energy with alignment creates leadership. I'll run that back. Presence, being fully present in a moment, in a room, with intention, your vision, your goals, your why. Those two things together create energy. And that energy, when it's aligned, creates leadership. And that's the thing. It wasn't ever about learning to perform. It's about learning to lead. And that is the system that gets created. That's the framework that can apply to anything, whether you're in the entertainment world and you're a DJ or you are a CEO at the top of the ranks. That energy and that system and that alignment is absolutely critical, because if you don't know where you're going, if you don't know what you're doing, if you don't know where that energy needs to be directed, it's going to scatter, it's going to spread out, and it's going to trickle down through anyone and everyone that you interact with. So being able to be an energy architect and to architect and create that system and that structure around your energy, that is one of the biggest markers of a leader. I can go into more of the science with Harvard Business Review and positive relational energy and so many of these other aspects, but I know we have a limited time, so I'll hold off there.
Is it kind of like a physical thing? Like I would be intentional about like how I show up here and try to, I don't know, do certain things that would help to energize you, for example, and keeping the audience in the back of my mind with all of perhaps the conversations, or what does that look like for me as someone that is working, that is learning from you?
So there's a couple aspects of it. I roll it back to, if I understood your question correctly, I roll it back to that phrase I said at the beginning of, it ain't about you.
Mm-hmm.
It ain't about you. That is one of the biggest lessons that I've learned, is that the second that we make it about us, that's when we get into our heads. And when we're in our heads, we're no longer present in a moment. And when we're not present in a moment, we're no longer connecting with the people that are there in front of us. So when we don't make it about us, we make it about the why or the value or the goal or the alignment or where we want to take that room or those people, the emotional arc that we want to create. How do we want them to feel at the end of something? If we put the focus on that, it's then on them, it's about them, and that is service that delivers in that
Mm-hmm.
sense. When we
Yeah.
make it about us, it all becomes introspective and ego driven, and we get into our heads, and that's when we lose this focus. And that's where nerves come in. That's where the pressure comes in. That's where performance comes in instead of the actual presence aspect of it. It's not about being the most impressive person in the room. It's about making it about them. It's about serving the room. And that's the real relentless pursuit, right? Not chasing attention. It's about earning it, about creating value and interest and engagement. And when you do those things, that is a part of, I'm an acronym junkie, and value and interest and engagement, those things, those are how you vie for attention. That's how you gain attention. You don't demand it, you vie for it by presenting value and interest
Mm-hmm.
and engagement.
Mm-hmm. 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 It reminds me of when I was in the restaurant industry. I was in fine dining, and it was always about, what was the customer's like last experience. Like, it's like, it was interesting because it was like everything that we would do, we think about, what the customer is going to think, how do the plates need to look, how do the servers need to look, how does the ambiance, et cetera, et cetera. It's really interesting taking that into the business world. I think when we do like, sales, marketing, customer experience programs, if we think about it from that perspective, not just hey, we need to drive revenue, but hey, what does the customer experience need to look like from an energy perspective? I think we could really produce, better results with that. Is that accurate?
Yeah, absolutely. It's about creating that experience. It's not about being technically the best or having the most hard skills or any of that. Those things are great and those things are fantastic. But
Yeah.
at the end of the day, you are providing a product or a service for someone, and that is an experience. Why would someone purchase a PC over a Mac? Why would they purchase Coca-Cola over Pepsi? It's about the experience and all of these different other aspects that go into it, but the experience of it and what is created that make people lean one way or the next. I always,
Mm-hmm.
I always bring up this example of, you could have a steak. You talked about fine dining. You could have a steak with the worst people. And it could be an incredible steak, but the people around you just aren't giving to you. Energetically, they are pulling from you. You don't necessarily want to be there. You're not enjoying the conversation. It's a struggle. You don't know what to say. You don't know what to do. You're just waiting for the moment that it's over so you can get out of there. And all you're thinking is, this steak is the best part of this. All right. So you can have a steak with those people, or you can have a hot dog with some of the greatest people. And that is probably one of the best hot dogs that you will ever have, because the experience that you're having that hot dog surrounded by energetically, that is the whole world. Now, if you take that steak, those hard skills, all of that, and you pair it together energetically with being a great person and having a great crowd and being that type of leader, man, now you got a great steak and great people. And that sounds like a fantastic evening or a weekend,
Absolutely. 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 One thing you talked about, kind of a few times was, that aspect of presence, and I'm thinking about you, being on stage with 60,000 people, and like, you could be thinking about, I don't know what you got to do tomorrow or whatever, but you've learned to be present. And I think that that's such a powerful skill, especially, as a leader, as, someone that is, teaching, evolving, guiding other people that are following us in whatever aspect. And so my question for you is, How do you truly learn that? There's a theoretical side to this. You know what I'm saying? Just pay attention. But it's much deeper than that because it becomes part of who you are. So how do you learn that?
So presence, you talked about theory. Let's get theory out of it, because there's all kinds of theories that can happen and things can be theoretical, but we want to create systems and frameworks that actually work and operate and that are efficient and effective.
Mm-hmm.
So presence is something that, and I know you've heard this before, but that presence is a gift, right? That's why they call it the present. So one of the biggest things about being present with someone is listening. Listening is a massive aspect of that, because that is communication. Mm-hmm. You are sending me information. I am going to receive that information, and then I'm going to send something back to you. It is a game of send and receive that is constantly going back and forth. Mm-hmm. The information that you send me, if I'm not present in that moment, if I'm not listening to you, if I'm not engaged in what you're saying, and I'm thinking about what I'm going to have for lunch, or what I'm going to say next, or the next moment, I am then creating a plan. And when we plan something, it's so easy for that plan to fall apart. Mm-hmm. And that's why we have to prepare and not plan for something. So being able to listen, I'll come back to that in a second, and then prepare, don't plan. Those two aspects I want to lock into. So the prepare, don't plan aspect of it is things are going to go sideways. It doesn't matter what you do, how much you plan, how much you prepare, things will go sideways. Something will happen. A microphone will die. A speaker will be late. The presentation is having glitches. The technology is not working as optimally as it can. Mm-hmm. And if you planned for step A, B, C, D, E, and F, and step B or step E gets messed up and is erased, you're now stumbling and stammering. And that's what happens when you make a plan. Mm-hmm. There's nothing wrong with planning how something's going to go. Nothing wrong with creating a vision with how something's going to go. But we create a benchmark, our floor, with preparation, so that when we get into a particular moment, we can be present because we've already prepared for all of these different scenarios. And then we see where it goes. That's what athletes do, right? They're preparing pre-season for all of these different scenarios. They're running all of these different plays. They're putting different people in different positions to prepare for the moment where they are in the real thing. When they're actually playing that game, they can't go with a plan of we're going to throw long passes, because that may not work out. Right. So we prepare to a particular level so that when we get into a moment, we're ready to move it. We can't control anything. We can command something, but we cannot control it. If you are on a river that is rushing, moving as quick as possible, and you're the captain of that ship, you can't shout to the river, hey, settle down. I'm trying to go this way and you're making me go that way. No, you can't control that river, but you can command that ship. You are prepared. You do know how the winds are going to work. You do know how the rudders are going to work so that you can move yourself down that river in the best possible way. That's where the preparation over planning comes from. And that's where the reps come in. We have all this technology and AI and all this that we have information at our fingertips, but that's just knowledge and information. That's just one time. You read a book, that's just one time. Repetition is what creates fluency. And that's how we become the masters. That's how we become absolutely experienced at something. And so that all comes from the idea of preparation over planning and listening. Man, I could tell you so much about listening. One of the examples that I'll give you here is hip hop just celebrated 50 years, not too long ago, in the last year or so. Sprite, the brand Sprite, has been along for that journey almost the entire time. Why is that the case? Because Sprite, they do an incredible job of listening to what the hip hop culture is doing. They listen so well, and they don't listen just with their ears. They listen with their instincts, their intuition. They're listening to all these things, and then they're making these applications, and they're able to adapt to what is happening. They're not just going, here's my plan, let's stick to it. They prepare for how the industry is going to move and where they think the industry is going to move, and they go, let me help guide it in that direction. So those are some of the biggest aspects of frameworks and how you implement these things, and why listening and being present is so incredibly important.
Hmm. Wow, that's brilliant. The listening piece in particular jumps out to me just because it's an enabler, and you have the tendency sometimes in a conversation with someone, to think about, the next, 3 or 4 things you want to say rather than actually hearing and observe or listening, I should say, and absorbing what's being said and really trying to understand, what people are saying. So that act of trying to understand is that act of presence that you're talking about.
Yeah. It's the simplest thing. I'll give you this example. How many times have you met someone brand new and seconds later you're like, I forgot their name. I have no idea what their name is. I
Yeah, it
think
happens.
anyone and everyone that's listening, myself included, has done that because as that person is walking up to us, as they're approaching us, as we see them, we're thinking, what are we going to say? We're assessing them. We're doing all of these different things.
Yeah.
And that when they do say, they put their hand out, shake your hand, say their name, you're so far ahead of what you're going to say and all these other aspects that you don't even hear what they say.
Yeah.
A lot of the times I try and keep myself in the present of whatever moment is, and I use the repetition in it. So if someone was introducing you to me, Rick, if you said, hi, my name's Rick. Hey, Rick, pleasure to meet you. I've now heard it. I've now said it. You said Rick, right? That's what it is. Because sometimes it could be something else. And even if I did hear it, I still repeat it.
Mm-hmm.
So now I've said it twice. And then I find some other way before the conversation ends and we part ways. Hey, Rick, it was great talking to you. I'm looking forward to seeing you around the event. So I've now said it multiple times. I've heard myself say it multiple times. I've heard you say it a couple times. And all of that happens in this quick moment of the present so that later on you're going, he's coming up to me. What was his name? What was his name? Oh, Rick, I remember. There it is. So it's these like little tricks that keep you in the present so that we can keep moving forward. It's so amazing how important it is.
Yeah. The other piece you were talking about was with the planning, and I love that. And what dawned on me with that was really acceptance. So like you said, you make the plan, but you accept the fact that you've prepared. Well, you've prepared so that you can accept if things do go awry, if things do, go unplanned. I was thinking about just that in terms of energy and perhaps energy preservation. Is that also aligned with your thinking?
Yeah, it definitely is. What was the first? There was a word you said right in the beginning there that I wanted
Acceptance?
to walk into. Acceptance. Yeah. I'll come back to acceptance in a moment. Actually, I just get to it right now. So sometimes people have a hard time accepting other people's views or perspectives. So you won't listen. You're like, I'm not going to listen to this person because I don't like their views or I know what they're about or whatever the case is. But that closes us off to perspective. You don't have to embody what they're talking about. You don't have to apply it to your life. It doesn't have to become your new principle and how you guide your world and your new philosophy.
Mm-hmm.
But it can provide you with a different perspective of how someone else is thinking about something, which then gives you knowledge, which then gives you power in able to act on something and do something energetically to make someone else act a particular way or to be inspired a certain way. And one of the aspects of that I present to people is a Broadway show, suspension of disbelief. If you go to a Broadway show, if you go to the Lion King, you know that the lions and the zebras and the hyenas, those aren't real. There's no part of you that's like, those are real, right? It's not there anymore, but there's an aspect of you that suspends that disbelief that they're not real. And it allows you to submerge yourself and immerse yourself into the character, into the story. And by doing that, you're able to take on the perspective of the characters and what's happening in that story.
Yeah.
So I often say to people, if they have a hard time with someone else's perspective, or maybe they are already resistant to it, apply that suspension of disbelief, right? Try and just take yourself out of it so that you can get into their character or their perspective for just a moment. And then it comes right back to what I said in the beginning. You don't have to apply it as your philosophy. That doesn't have to be what gets put down in your holy grail anymore, but it does give you more information on how to be able to do things differently. And that is so much what we want to do. We want to impact and inspire people to act in the ways that we want them to do, whether it's buying a book or subscribing to a podcast or running a company, any of those different things, we want people to act. And so the more that they're on board with that, the more they're going to do that. So that acceptance piece that comes in there is a big aspect. You have to prepare yourself for what the circumstances may be.
Mm-hmm.
And then when you get in that moment, accept it, let it go, breathe, and realize that you can't control that moment, but you can be present in that.
Mm-hmm. It reminds me of, running, different companies I run, and the conflict, that sometimes we have, with other team members, and, the importance of listening. And I think one of the struggles that we have sometimes is really, as you stated, really taking the time to really accept what they're saying. It doesn't mean that, I have a better understanding of where they're coming from. It doesn't mean I'm going to embody that, but I can accept their words, and perhaps, we can come to a better conclusion as a result of that, rather than, as a leader, I'm pushing down, no, we do things this way, and I don't care what you're about. And it was interesting because you laid in that, what I didn't expect is, being able to influence someone, as a result of acceptance, even though we don't come to terms on, whatever direction that was. That's really brilliant. That's really brilliant. And I guess in accepting, we're pouring energy into that person because they feel heard. They should feel heard and seen,
Heard and
as a
seen
result of
and
that.
like they belong to something.
Yeah.
That's why do people buy Rolexes? Because they want to be a part of that group. They want to feel like they belong in this particular group. That's why they buy BMWs. It's why we do so many different things, because we want to feel like we belong in a particular section or a group. I did a film years ago with Taraji P. Henson and Sam Rockwell called The Best of Enemies.
Mm-hmm.
And a scene that stuck with me, not from acting in it, but just from watching it. The basic premise of that is based on a true story, Durham, North Carolina, 70s. And the premise is that they were talking about school integration, blacks and white school integration. And there was a fire that broke out at one of the black schools. So they were talking about integrating them into the white schools. And they started to do that process. Fast forward, Taraji P. Henson is a big civil rights activist. Her character, Sam Rockwell's character, is the head of the Ku Klux Klan in that region.
Mm-hmm.
And at these meetings where they're trying to decide on if school integration should happen, and the schools are already integrated at a particular moment temporarily, Taraji P. Henson's character and the black folks want to have gospel music at the end of these meetings. It's a part of their culture. They want to have it. It makes them feel good. So the stipulation was, if that's what happened, Sam Rockwell's character says, then we get to put our KKK materials out in the hallways for people to enjoy it. And they made that agreement. They said, sure. And Taraji P. Henson sees these young teenage boys messing up this display, ripping up the KKK pamphlets. And she runs up to him and goes, what are you doing? And essentially calls them fools for doing that. They're giving you all the information about how they think, how they operate, how they do things. And you are ripping it up and throwing it away. You should be taking this knowledge, learning from it, adapting it. And when you do that, then you have more power to be able to influence people. And that is where I've created all of my systems from, whether it's a room of 10 people or it's a stadium of 60,000 people. I often have to create this sense of diversity and separation and unify them within a matter of moments, sometimes even in seconds, to have them doing and acting and leaning forward and engaged with someone that they've never met before. And there's a power in that any founder, any executive, any leader, a DJ, a host, a husband, a wife, anyone can apply to their lives. And that's why I frequently say that everyone is on stage. Yeah. Everyone is a host. Everyone is on stage, because a stage isn't what you think of as that normal thrust platform that's elevated. Sure, that's a stage. But to me, a stage is any moment eyes are on you. It's any moment that you are exchanging this connection and this conversation and this energy with someone. That is a stage.
Yeah. I was thinking about, going back to, you as a DJ, and, you've got your crowd, you've got your audience here, and your audience is diverse. So you have people that are interested in different, styles of music or whatever, and you've got to be
Yeah.
attentive to that because you are the host. And what immediately came to mind is being on stage as a speaker. You've got a topic, and people are going to respond like differently throughout the audience. And I know as a speaker, I would prefer to get energy from the audience. I don't want everybody just sitting there, kind of dozing off. And so I'm curious, how do you create that flow, like in an environment like that where people aren't necessarily going to be like,
Yep. Man, you were just absolutely speaking my language. So that's why I created these frameworks that I have.
yeah. And please dig into them, as
Yeah,
much
so
as you
I
want to.
I have an introductory type of program which I call Flare Lab, which gets you in and introduces some of the principles that you just talked about. There's a spark sequence that is all about how you open something. What is it? How do you open up the room? What is it that you're saying? What is it that you're doing? So I've created an entire system of how to do that, and you can replicate that and duplicate that in any situation that you're in. And that's a part of that opening sequence. I have a system that I have that's called SAVE for what we were talking about earlier. When things go sideways and it doesn't go according to plan, again, these are all acronyms of how you save that particular moment without freaking out, without panicking, because no one cares if you're freaking out. No one cares if you're panicking. They're there for a particular reason. And you are on that stage. You are the leader. You are in that moment to guide them where they need to be. So you have to have a particular self-concept and groundedness to be able to do that without relaying that things have gone sideways. So to come back to your question there of how you do that, how you connect with people in the very beginning it is this game of ping pong that happens.
Mm-hmm.
And I teach this entire framework on how to gauge the energy of an audience. Let's say it's a scale of 1 to 10.
Mm-hmm.
You're backstage of an event. You're about to give a keynote. There are, let's say, 2,000 people out there in the audience.
Mm-hmm.
As you're backstage, we're listening and we're feeling into the energy that's in the room. How amped up are they? Are they really excited? How was the speaker that was before? Is there an actual host or MC that is transitioning these pieces? Where did they take them in that energy level? And so we figure out where they're at. So let's say that they're energetically at a 4.
Mm-hmm.
If you come out at a 7, an 8, a 9, a 10, these people are going to go, whoa, too much, too fast. They're going to lean away from you. But if you gauge that and they're right around a 4, let's say, and you come out at a 5, a 6, that lower 7, energetically, they're going to go, okay, I love this. This is great. Let me lean into it.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes you need to do that in reverse. Sometimes they're maybe at a 4 or 5 and you want to bring them down a couple notches because that locks in their focus, their attention, because they're so high up here. And if something is so high up here energetically and it's big and it's this, and man, we can't wait till it gets there. And someone comes out and they go, I'm so excited to be here because this is going to be. I can talk about the pitch and the pace and the pause and all of that it goes into public speaking communication.
Yeah.
But energetically, what did I just do? I just grabbed them and I pulled their energy right to me.
Mm-hmm.
So now I have their focus and I can guide that focus.
Mm-hmm.
So when you come out and you've already gauged that energetic level of where they are, there are going to be people that are resistant, that don't necessarily want to be there. They had a bad phone call. They had an argument with their wife. They want to be somewhere else because their kid's having a baseball game, but they have to be at this conference. Whatever the case is, there's something happening in that person's head that is going to have them closed off, leaning back, not there. When you come out on that stage, don't lock in on that person.
Yeah.
If you see that person, don't lock in on that person because they will be in energetic vacuum and they will pull you down, and you're going to get into your head of, how do I make this person unfold their arms? How do I make this person lean in? How do I make them? You can't make them do any of that. It's the same analogy I gave about the ship going down the river. You cannot control what they do. You can align their energy and where you are going with your why and your goal and your mission and why you are on that stage to speak. So in that, find those people that are leaning in, that are smiling, that have a particular energy that is going to give back to you. Because then you look at them, you connect with them, you give back to them. The people around them that may be a little closed off are going to go, and he just looked right at them. It's like they know each other. I want him to know me. This is cool. And then that one person that you connected with that was already open is going to help open these people up.
Wow.
And then these people are going to help open those people up. And then the next thing you know, you have an entire group of 2,000 people that is leaned in, listening, motivated, ready to take action on what you say, because energetically, at the very beginning, you open that sequence the best possible way. Here's an application of that. Sometimes speakers will have their papers that are on the podium.
Mm-hmm.
The opening line is, "Hey everyone, just like Aaron said, I'm Rick Meekins. I'm so excited to be here." What do? They come out, they look at everyone, they get to the podium, they look down. "Hey everyone, just like Aaron said, I'm Rick Meekins. I'm so excited to be here." You know your name. You know you're excited to be here. There's no reason for you to be looking down at that paper.
Yeah. Yep.
That is the most simplistic possible fix in the very beginning that you can possibly do, is to come out open, looking at everyone, connecting with everyone. "Hey everyone, just like Aaron said, I'm Rick Meekins. I am so excited to be here." And then get into it. Because then now you've already connected with people, and energetically they're going, wow, okay.
Mm-hmm.
If you come up to someone and you shake their hand, you're like, "Hey, I'm Rick Meekins."
Mm-hmm.
And you do that, they're going to be like, what's this person's deal?
Mm-hmm.
So I can talk about all this stuff, just like I was saying earlier. I can talk about it all, but it's information.
Yeah.
It's knowledge. It is one rep that you get in, and that only gives us that information. It's the reps that create fluency. And that's a lot of what I do in my Just Mike That program, and the Flare Lab, which is an introduction to Just Mike That, is really teaching these programs that are the energetic aspect of public speaking and communication and body language. And we get into all of those as well. But just like I said at the beginning, energetically, a whole different world when you know how to operate that.
So you, once again, you have us on the edge of a cliff. How do we get the training, man?
It's great. So my website holds everything. It's aaronsmalls.com. It has everything from keynotes that I do, to the hosting side, to the DJing side, to some of the frameworks that are there. And my newsletter that goes out, which is just aaronsmalls.com/newsletter. You can find it on the website. I put these different insights in the newsletter monthly. I put some of these frameworks in there monthly. I take stories from events or experiences that I've done recently, and I put them in there. So you're getting the application of it. You're getting the story of it. So those frameworks are in there. That's a great place to do it. My website is a great place to get them. And again, people are here, they're listening, they're watching, and I'm so appreciative of it. And when we get to the end, I'll throw something out there for people, because they're here with you, Rick, and I appreciate it, that they can get even more of these frameworks from me.
Grateful. So here we go. Our question of the day. The name of the show is the Relentless Pursuit of Winning podcast.
Yes.
And for most people, we can identify winning, pretty easily, whatever that's going to look like. The hard part is doing the reps, that relentless pursuit. What can you offer our audience to help them maintain that relentless pursuit?
What can I offer for them to help continue that relentless pursuit? You have to love what you do. If you don't love what you do, why do it? Why spend 10, 15, 20, 30 years doing something that you don't enjoy and that you don't love? Maybe you spend a few years doing it because you need to make money, you need to be able to pay your bills. But then on nights and the weekends, you're doing something to be able to create the thing that you love.
Mm-hmm.
In the beginning of this conversation, I talked about engineering. I love knowing how things work. Engineering sounded and felt like the right course. And then I got into it, and I was introduced to this entertainment world, and everything changed. Someone put a microphone in my hand and the entire world changed. Not just for me, but for the people that were in my sphere of influence. Even those people that are in my sphere of concern, the world changed for them too, because that activated my gift. I don't call it a passion. I call it a gift. What are you so great at that no one else can do better than you? One is being authentically you, but it's your gift. So for people, I say, lock into your gift. What is it that you love? What is it that you do authentically better than anyone else? Lock into that and share that with the world.
Mm.
Don't gatekeep it. Don't hide it. Don't protect it. Put it out there. Once you know it and you have it established, put it out there, because you can tell you can tell something to someone one time, they'll hear you, and then they'll move on. But if you continuously tell it, you continuously say it, it doesn't just become embedded into your body, because words are energy. The words that we say have an energetic frequency to them. So if we're speaking positively or in an uplifting manner, that's going to resonate with ourselves physically and with those around us.
Mm-hmm.
Contrary to that, negatively, whether we're talking negatively about someone else or ourselves, our minds, our bodies don't know the difference.
Mm.
So find that thing that you love, that makes your heart sing, and that will allow you to relentlessly pursue it when you get those no's, when you get the rejections, because that is resilience. And as anyone in sports will tell you, it's not about how many times you get knocked down, about how many times you get back up.
Yes, sir.
Having a framework and a knowledge and an ability to be resilient is much easier when you love doing something that you're doing versus when you don't.
Yeah.
So that relentless pursuit starts with yourself and your self-concept and your mind, those thoughts, and then those thoughts will create your words, and your words will create the actions. And that will be a trifecta that will continuously run.
Yeah.
And that is a big part of the charismatic advantage in the art of social energy.
Yeah, man, that's really great. That's really great. I'm just thinking about that from the perspective of, like, even just like shedding. You know, you find that thing that you love, and you just like start shedding all those other things that are outside of that. It gives you a level of freedom, actually, to just focus on what you do great. And yeah, that makes absolute sense. Thank you so much for that. Okay, so for your third cliffhanger, you left. You leaked that you might have something for our audience. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. So I already talked about the newsletter. A lot of great information comes from that newsletter on my website. Again, aaronsmalls.com/newsletter. A lot of great insights, how I break down running a room and commanding a room and the systems and the stories. They're a lot of fun. So that is something that people can jump onto. And then another thing that I have are strategy sessions for people that are 30 minutes. You can book a strategy session with me. And then I get in there and I really dive into what you're doing, what your why is, your goal, your values. And then I find how we can amp that up energetically. Where are we leaking energetically, and what we can do different to really amp up your business, your organization, your speaking, your presence, any of those things. And so generally the strategy session that is 30 minutes is $350 for that. For any of our Relentless Pursuit of Winning folks that reach out to me and mention that they found me through the podcast, we're going to 50% that. We're going to cut that in half. So $175 for them, 30 minutes. We get into it. We'll get into some of these concepts. We'll really talk about what you have coming up. What's the next room that you're going to be in? What is a time that you've left a room and you go, man, that could have gone better.
Yeah.
That definitely could have gone better. That is a big part of what I do, is making people feel when they leave a room, wow, that was really great. I really enjoyed that. That was a good experience, and not what I said earlier, not this plan of you're going to be this and you're going to be that, and you're going to be that. We tap into your guidelines, we tap into your goals, your whys, your vision, and we really take those strides forward. And because I'm coming from an entertainment background, it's likely different from your background and your perspective. And when you do that, it allows one to think outside of the box, and it allows you to be able to yes and an idea or a concept instead of it getting shut down. Oh, we did that before. We did that already. So those are some of the things that I can throw out there and offer to your viewers and your listeners is the newsletter. Sign up for that and to reach out, and we'll we'll chop that strategy session in half for you.
Awesome, Aaron. Thank you so much. This has been a great conversation. You got my little ticker ticking.
I love that. That's what it's about.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And folks, I want to thank you so much for watching or listening to another episode of the Relentless Pursuit of Winning podcast. We'll catch you next time.